Good evening, everybody. We got a great webinar tonight, and we are up and ready to roll. We are ready. I'm going to get my slideshow up here. Okay, guys, tonight's webinar is Discover My 10 Life Principles for Eating Healthy and Immediate Fat Loss. And this is what we have tonight is we're going to discuss things that it doesn't matter if you have my program, any program, the best, the worst, or any program in the world. It doesn't matter the map you have, the program you have. If these 10 life principles aren't ingrained, if they're not rock solid pillars, a granite foundation to your life, you will crumble. And there's a lot of people like that don't have, that might have the right map, but don't have these top 10 life principles in perspective. That's a good way to say it. They don't have them in perspective. So let's get cranked up. Real quick, a little bit about me for you guys that are just tuning in. Who am I? What's my resume? What are my credentials? I love that question. What are my credentials? So let's real quick run through this. I'm a former collegiate football player, full scholarship collegiate football player, and strength coach. That's actually me right here, number 97, back in 1998. This is against Florida State. When I finished playing college football, I lost 50 pounds, which was a big personal transformation. And I got some photos tonight I'll show you if you want to see. 14 years of in the trenches experience as a personal trainer and strength coach. Forget weightlifting. I've been doing that, I don't know, last 25 years, I think. But just as a trainer and strength coach. I had 24 articles published back in, I think, 08 through 09, during an 8-month period, on at the time was the highest paying fitness website on the planet. It's not around anymore, actually. Well, part of the site's down, but either way about it, I'm proud of that. Over 150 successful case studies. That number's actually gone up in the last 3 months. And I've had folks from actually 17 different countries, believe it or not. So I'm proud of that. And with that being said, let's get going here. The number one life principle is no matter what happened the last meal, you can always eat the next meal like it has a history and life of its own. Okay? You got to eat your next meal like it's the most important meal of your life and will determine the outcome of your program. Let me be very clear, guys. Let me be very clear on this. I can't tell you, and this is from working with over 1,000 online folks in the last 3.5 years. I can promise you this, I've had more people throw in the towel because they'll have a really bad binge. They'll have a bunch of cocktails. Or I've had people that will have something as small as an apple will set them off. You've heard the snowball effect. It snowballs and turns into a big giant ball by the time it gets some steam rolling. And that's what happens. They'll veer off their program just a tiny bit, which isn't good, but it's not going to kill you if you have a few extra almonds or an apple. But they'll feel so disgusted in their self, they'll turn that into an all-out cereal binge. And I tell people, if you mess up with it's a tiny little, just a little hiccup, like a few extra almonds, or if it's a really bad jailbreak binge, always eat the next meal. Get back on track and eat the next meal like it's the most important meal of your life. And you also want to eat the next meal. Think of it this way, is that one bad meal won't cancel out 20 good ones. One bad meal won't cancel out 10 good ones. It really won't. And you can still claim the promises that lie ahead. You can still claim the success that lies ahead. And you got to be process-oriented. I don't want to get too off topic on the process-oriented instead of bigger picture, but let me touch on what that means. Instead of picturing what yours are going to look like, because I'm all about visualization, don't get me wrong, but instead of, oftentimes young ladies, they'll get a bikini competitor or a figure model or a swimsuit model, cut the picture out of a magazine, put it on their mirror, on their cardboard wall, on their car, on the refrigerator, wherever they put it. It's motivation. Well, you know what? I found, and I actually adopted this principle recently, this year actually, is that it's better to actually focus on the process. Now, you can look at that photo, but that photo, you're not going to look like that photo for maybe 7 months, okay? But instead, focus on the next step. And for a lot of you guys, the next step isn't weighing in at the end of the month. It's not going to the grocery store next week. The next step is the next meal. Okay? So get back on track and eat the next meal. I can't tell, it sounds so simple, but so many people can't do it. Okay? And by the way, guys, if you ask any questions in the side chat, I will answer them at the end of the webinar. So I'm not going to forget about you, by the way, just to let you know. And don't be afraid to ask any questions you want to ask, and I will answer them, I promise you. Number 2, life principle number 2, listening to voices outside your program can be disastrous. Oh my goodness, it can be absolutely disastrous. I can't tell you how many folks I've had that will, it might be someone at their local gym. It might be someone online. It might be someone on a message board. And some people miss great opportunities in life because they veer off the assigned course. All you have to do, whether you're just someone that's just trying to eat healthy and stay on track, or maybe you're just someone that wants to do a contest, wants to do a bikini show or a figure show. And I wish I'd put some of my great transformations up here from shows last year. But we had a few folks recently, I say a few, really recently, that this year that actually were doing great, were on track, and listened to voices outside their program, and it cost them dearly. They missed out on tremendous opportunities, and all someone has to do is follow the right map. That's all they have to do, okay? And everybody wants to throw in tidbits of help. It's usually good intentions. I remember back in 2008, I think spring 2008, I was prepping a local girl here. This is back when I actually did personal training. I don't do it anymore, but when I actually did real life personal training, I was in a gym and I had a girl I was training for her a figure show, and she'd never competed before. And I wrote her eating, her program out, her diet program, and I, actually trained her in person too. And we were sitting in the gym one day, and I was like going over something while we were sitting down next to each other, and some guy that I'm actually friends with and she knew walked by, and the guy says, "Hey, don't forget to get tanned because it'll bring your cuts out more." And that wasn't negative by any means, but it was just, I'm like, dude, do you not think I'm going to tell her that? Do you not think we're going to have that base covered? And that's just one small example. There have been many more, but the point is that usually whenever you do a show, or whenever you do even if you're not doing a figure bikini show, even if you're just making really good progress, people always want to get in with tidbits of advice. It's usually friendly advice, but the person you're with, you've got to trust who you're with. Okay? And we'll get to that more in a minute, but some folks are actually like vultures waiting to cast a storm of doubt on your program. I've had people that weren't even doing, figure bikini shows. They were just doing, just people that made great progress on their program and, changed the way they look tremendously. And when that happens, it creates a disturbance in your gym, in your fitness club, in your health club, the fitness center you go to. People, why is this person all of a sudden, this person's been coming here the last 6 years, now all of a sudden they've gone from pretty good to super awesome in like literally 4.5 weeks. What's going on? And it's unless you've been there, it's hard to really understand. But the point I'm making is that I don't want to get off topic and get off the path here, but the point is you got to never listen to outside voices on your program because it can be disastrous. And be alert to this. Know that this is going to come. People always want to throw stones or get you off course. So understand that and be prepared for it. All right, life principle number 3, get out of the gym and get into the kitchen. And I'll say that one more time, loud and clear. Get the heck out of the gym and get into the kitchen. Look, fitness-minded, active folks who want to burn stubborn body fat and tone up, they aren't lazy at all. They're not lazy. Okay, in fact, they're some of the hardest working people I've seen are the people that are your gym regulars. Okay? They are in there, and it's usually your fitness fanatic. Okay? And sometimes they're skinny fat. Sometimes they have the stubborn love handles. Some of them look pretty fit. Some do. Okay? I was at a gym this little cliquish gym last year for about 8 months, and it was a real trendy is a good word, a real trendy, posh, cliquish is a good word, cliquish gym. And they had this class where they just kick your ass for like literally an hour every, I think, 4 days a week, 4 mornings a week. And people, there's like literally over 80 people that go and do that on Saturday morning. And in the class, and it's just there's different stations and so on, and it's just busy work. You know, there's an old saying, excessive action is a form of laziness. So get out of the gym and take that time that you were in the gym and put it in the kitchen. Use that time to go buy your food, measure your food, cook your food, package your food, and then eat your food. Okay? You know, I've seen, like I said, people spend too much time overdoing weights and cardio, and they believe this will overcome the stubborn fat. If you want to get rid of that stubborn fat, you know what? An extra hour on the treadmill ain't going to do it. The treadmill isn't your weapon. The knife and the fork are your weapon. Okay? You know, I made a post on my Facebook wall, I think last week, and actually I'm going to post it again tomorrow, just in case someone missed it. But the post is that it's a lot easier to, let me correct myself. Well, it's a lot easier to get up and go do an hour in the spinning class, an hour, you know, on the weights, and then grab a, you know, like a cereal bar or a Quest bar on the way to work. You know, it's a lot easier to do that than to only go to the gym for 3 45-minute sessions a week, but to pack all your food, you know, in advance, the day before. Cook it, prepare it, measure it, pack it, and eat it on time, on schedule. So, and we'll get to that more in a minute because that's in a different slide, but let's finish this. Here's a good one right here. Your diet is the linchpin, not your workouts. Okay? So same thing. Here's a good one right here. I got one more point to make, and we'll move on this slide. Too much cinnamon equals diminishing returns. What in the world does that mean? Okay, if you're making cookies, right, and the directions call for 1 tablespoon of cinnamon, okay, and you put in 1 tablespoon of cinnamon, and the cookies are delicious. They are so good. What if you put in 2 tablespoons of cinnamon? Would they taste twice as good? What about 4 tablespoons of cinnamon? While we're at it, go ahead and put in about 10 tablespoons of cinnamon. I bet those cookies would be out of this world. Well, wait a minute. Wait a minute, folks. We all know that's not the way it works. Because once you reach a certain point, you cross over into what's called diminishing returns. There's an old saying, too much of a good thing isn't always a good thing. Okay? So, too much cinnamon spoils the cookies. Too much cardio spoils the diet. You mess it up. And I got one more point here, I think. Yeah, guys, give your food a chance to work. Give your diet a chance to work. Give your eating program a chance to work, and you will kill your program if you do too much cardio. You'll kill it. I have more on this in a minute. Let's keep rolling, guys. You're doing great. Life principle number 4. Always prepare your food in advance. Always. Always do it. That's what a champion does. That's the earmark of a champion. That's the earmark of someone with a rock solid foundation of discipline. Okay? Not preparing your food in advance is always a stumbling block. I'll repeat that. Not preparing your food in advance is always a stumbling block. It is. And I just said this, or something similar to this in the previous slide. It takes far more discipline to buy, measure, cook, and pack your food in advance than to pump a thermo and grind out an hour on the weights, another hour on the Stairmaster. You won't have, number one, I had a girl sign up with me a couple months ago, and she sent her email in, and she was a young girl, and she had a really good figure, actually. And she was just a cardio-aholic. She was doing like an hour of cardio a day, weights 5 days a week, just way too much. And she's like, I'm not going to have time to cook much, so make sure you give me food that doesn't, require much cooking. And I said, whoa. No, you're going to have time to cook because you're not going to be in the gym as much. You're going to have an extra, with all the free time you'll have, with all your newly found free time, you're going to have a lot of time to cook, to buy your food, to measure your food, and prepare your food. So I love it when people sign up with me and they're like doing, an hour cardio a day, wakes up in the gym 6 days a week. Oh, I don't have time. Well, you will have time. We're going to get your little taters out of the gym, and you're immediately going to have at least an hour a day of free time now. Take that newly found time and commit it towards food prep. Guys, anybody can go bonkers in the gym. Anybody can do that. Okay? If you're into fitness, you can do it. It takes a champion. It takes an extraordinary, passionate, coincised focus level of laser focused discipline to do this, to pack your food. Okay? We're here at Wet Wolf Training, guys. We're not gymaholics. We're not workoutaholics. We're strategists. We're gonna outthink you. Our strategies, we're gonna play a chess match with your fat loss. Have you guys heard that expression? We're not gonna use I'm getting tongue-tied over here. We're not gonna use brute force or blunt force trauma. You can't force fat off. You gotta coerce the fat off. You gotta be conniving and crafty. You gotta play a chess match with your body fat. And you do it with packaged food in the right time of the day. Prepare your food, have it ready. That's your weapon. All right, life principle number 5. You can't follow your program with all your heart if you don't trust it. You can't. You must believe in your program in order for it to work. I've had people that they don't believe eating. For those of you on the call tonight, I think I saw Andrea on here, a couple others. And Andrea, touch this. Give me a what's up or a thumbs up if you admit to this. I think Andrew's from Australia, if I'm not mistaken. But a lot of folks, and I think you might have been someone too, that when you got on it, you're like, I can't believe I'm eating this much food. This is incredible. It's just so much food. And it's not like, it's not twigs and berries, or it's not just like a big bowl of salad like some, popular famous diet, people do. Or they try to sell stuff like that in their ebooks. We give lots of healthy fats, tons of complex carbs, whole brown eggs, avocados, wild salmon, lots of hearty, healthy fat, carbohydrate-rich foods. Okay, nuts. We give, we're going to give you a big bowl of salad too. You're going to get your cruciferous, multicolored, leafy green vegetables. Don't get me wrong. But my point is, it's so much food, people eat it, and they think, oh my gosh, can I really eat all this? And they don't feel like they deserve the food. They feel like that much food is going to make them fat. And we all know, for those of you that have been on the program, that's not the case, because usually it's by the start of week number 2. Literally usually day 6 or 7, usually day 7 right on the program, all of a sudden instead of being full by each meal, I've had people that literally almost can't eat all their meals the first week. They're stuffed. But by week number 2, by literally day 7 or maybe the latest day 8, they are hungry by their next meal. And then usually by day 10, they're starving by their next meal. Okay? We'll get to more on that later, but on another webinar. But, look, here's the deal, guys. You got to find someone you trust and do what they tell you to do. If you don't trust them, you don't sign up. Okay? Or just leave. Okay? With me, if those of you that have been on my website or my Facebook page, but especially my website, I have so much social proof. What is social proof? Before and after photos. That's what it is. It's stuff you can look at. Testimonials are good. People want to see before and after photos. I've got so many of those. Some are awesome transformations. Some are pretty decent. Some are so-so, but some are awesome, And the so-so ones are usually just for a month or 2 months, And they're women in their 50s. I got women in their 50s all the way down to their 20s, and men too. So my point is that that's what you got to make your decision off of most of the time, okay? And if you have social proof and you believe in their methodology, if you're going to pay for something, you got to buy in and run with it. And lastly, if you keep telling yourself it won't work, then sooner or later it won't work. If you wake up and you tell your mom you're sick, your dad you're sick, your goldfish you're sick, your puppy dog you're sick, your sister you're sick, you write in your journal you're sick, you say it again, I'm sick, and pretty soon you're going to see it sick and feel bad. Okay? You know what I'm saying? Same thing goes with fat loss. So it all goes back to trust, faith, trust, and confidence in your program. Moving on, life principle number 6. And I think I got a typo here, so bear with me. Food, not exercise, is the key to fat gain and fat loss. Your fat loss will hinge on how you use it. And by it, I mean food. I don't know if it's kind of funny to read there, but and not to reiterate on the same point, but you have to know the right type of food, and the correct amount is vital. And here's a great point I want to make. I had someone sign up, I think last year, and they're for those of you that know, when you send in your evaluation, I ask you to list the foods that you've currently been eating. An example of, a daily meal plan. So I can get an idea of what you've been doing. And this person had like apples, natural peanut butter, what else? I think eggs, almonds, broccoli, and chicken. Not just like 5 or 6 foods, and they're all good foods. But even though all those foods were good and approved, there were way too many of them. Does that make sense? That's like all she was eating. Here's another way to say that. Okay? Well, let me get to that in a minute. It's not what you're eating, it's what you're not eating that's preventing fat loss. People think, well, I'm fat because I'm eating this or that, or I can't burn the fat because I'm eating something wrong. Well, that may be true. That might be true. But sometimes you can't burn the fat because of food you're not eating. You might not be eating enough. You might be eating the foods at the wrong time. And yes, you can eat certain foods at the wrong time. Okay? That's usually not the major problem, but sometimes it can contribute to the major problem, if you catch my drift. So you got to know what foods to eat, how much of the right foods to eat, and when to eat them. But by when doesn't necessarily mean morning or evening or 2 p.m. or 6 p.m. When means relative to where they should be placed in your 5 or 6 meals a day. Does that make sense? Okay, good. Moving right along, we're cranking this thing down. Life principle number 7. You can't out-exercise a bad diet, but you can ruin a good diet with too much working out. This might be the most important one. This really might be. And I put a picture of Alyssa here. This was actually, I think, her 2-month transformation. This is just here, if I'm not mistaken. Might have been 3, but I think it's 2. She did phenomenal. She's on her, I think, 5th month now. And she's probably, I'm going to guess, close to 30% body fat here. In this second photo, I'm guessing she's probably around 19, 20. But the point I'm making, and she'll probably be at 15 or lower when we're done with her by, I say done with it, we'll never be done with her. But when she's reached her peak for her, I think it's in May or June, if I'm not mistaken. But let's get back to the topic here, is that a lot of people, we've all heard people say, you can't you can't outrun a bad diet, which is true for the most part. But what people forget to say is too much exercise can destroy a good diet. And it's a shame, and I've seen it happen. And I'll just say it again, oftentimes active, fitness-minded folks do more harm than good with all the hours they clock at the gym. And that's true. By the way, let me pause right here and say that everybody stay on the call, because in about 5 minutes, after this last 2 slides, I'm going to let you guys answer questions, I'm going to answer questions, let you guys do the asking, and anybody can ask them. Anybody can ask whatever they want. I'm even going to let someone come on live on the webinar, which I'd love to have. So we'll see if that happens here in a minute. In fact, I wasn't going to say this, but I'll say it now just in case you guys are getting antsy. I have a special bonus present for someone that gets on the next webinar. So let's stick around for a few more minutes and get to that. I would hate for you guys to miss it, because I got a surprise I'm going to show too. So number 8, always pack a meal with you wherever you go. Now this is different than preparing your food in advance. Here's what I mean. Let me explain. Well, if you might have prepared all your food the night before, okay? But let's say you ate your second meal at 10:30, and you got a doctor's appointment at 11. Okay, and you're like, well, I'll be out of there in an hour, by 12, get home at 12:15 and eat. Well, let's say you get to your doctor's appointment at 11 and you're in there late, it runs over, and you're leaving. All of a sudden, what was supposed to be home by 12:15, then all of a sudden you're like, wait a minute, I got to pick up the dry cleaning, or wait, I got to go run by the grocery store and get this, or wait a minute, or there's a traffic jam or a car wreck. All of a sudden you don't get home till like after 1. So here's a silly example, but when I go see a movie, I will eat a meal right before I leave, and I'll always pack a meal to take with me in my car. So I've usually already eaten a meal in the last 30 to 45 minutes before I go to a movie, and then when I come out, I'll have a meal waiting for me in my car. And there have been sometimes I've actually left the movie early just so I could go eat my meal. And you're like, well, you only live less than 12 minutes from the theater, but the thing is that, what if there's a traffic jam? And it's I go through two really busy intersections to get to the theater, and you just never know how long you can get tied up there. You don't want to turn if I can eat my meal 25 minutes sooner, that's a big difference. And here's why that's so important. And I made this a bullet point here. Let me make this point first. Never put your success in the hands of others. Never risk falling off the track when someone else has the ball in their court. Keep the ball in your court, guys. The way you keep the ball in your court is by packing a meal with you wherever you go. Here's a great one. Always stay on schedule. When you go off schedule, guys, when you go off schedule, when you don't pack a meal with you and you go off schedule, that's when binges and junk food creeps into the picture. Half the time people binge is because they let too much time go between meals and they're starving. They're just not prepared. Okay? And they fall off the track and they succumb, they stumble and fall into a jailbreak binge. And if they just had a meal with them an hour earlier, they wouldn't have been so freaking starving. Never go to the grocery store starving or even hungry, by the way. So, life principle number 9, if you're compelled to eat even when you're not hungry, this is a red flag that you're unfulfilled in other areas of your life. And I've made this post, a dozen times in the last year. And this is Heather, and she did this transformation in 2011, and it shows, instead of just a before and after, we put a middle in here just to show how much, it gives more perspective to what someone goes through. It shows you the process. It's more process oriented, if that makes sense. So let's talk about this some more. So now here's the key. When someone is compelled to eat food off their program, it might not always be junk food. The lady I trained 2 years ago, and she emailed. I said, what's up? Send me your progress chart. Let's see how you've done. And she said, well, I haven't been following my program. I just am so disappointed in myself. I ate 2 bowls of oatmeal and a protein bar after my last meal. And I remember thinking, she said, I wasn't even hungry. And I know now it's because she was lacking. There was something in her life she was unfulfilled in. I don't know what. But oftentimes also, when you do this, when people aren't hungry, you can still cry. Now let me talk about this for a minute. The chemical high, as it relates to food, is from the sugar-fat combo. The best example of a sugar-fat combo is like a Big Mac, Coke, and fries. You got the sugar from the Coke, you got the fat from the burger, and especially from the fries. And when you take that sugar and that fat, that's the deadliest combo. It's hydrogenated corn syrup, hydrogenated oil, combined with greasy, saturated fat. That's the most deadly thing that, and with high glycemic sugars that you can do. Now, here's the thing. This is why so you're like, well, why would anyone ever eat that kind of junk if they weren't hungry? Well, that's the point. They're unfulfilled in other areas of their life. If you're seeking a chemical high, let me give you 3 other examples of a chemical high. People that are gamblers, are excessive gamblers, they get a chemical high from that. People that are pornography addicts, and people gambling, pornography addicts, and there's one, and cocaine, and like a cocaine addict. So it's drugs, pornography, and gambling. Those are three different things that give a chemical high. But you get a chemical high from that. You get an endorphin release. You get an epinephrine rush, an adrenaline rush from that. And what happens is some people get that, some people seek out that chemical high not because they're hungry. The food, the Big Mac, fries, and Coke, or whatever the food is, that's the means to the end. That's the means. The junk food is the means, and the end is the chemical high. And by getting that chemical high, look, some people have it with drugs, some pornography, and some with gambling. And those are three dangerous things that are bad. And here's another thing. This is a big one too. They're trying to fill a void left by a parent, a spouse, a boyfriend, girlfriend, or a job with food. That food, if you're not hungry, you're not hungry. You're satisfied. And you have to go eat cookies, crackers, ice cream, a tortilla wrap, whatever it is. Oftentimes, there's a girl that I knew. Okay, check this out. Follow me. Type in "I'm here." Type in "I'm here" in your chat box if you're with me. Type in "I'm with me." Type in "I'm with you" if you're with me in your chat box. Good. Okay. Listen to this, guys. There was a girl I knew, and she had her dad abandon her as a girl, as a young girl, like in elementary school. And she always felt abandonment from that. And so she was always trying to fill a void in her life, a void left by her dad, a void left by her father. She was trying to fill it with food. Only food couldn't fill the void. And sometimes it's relationships, it's romantic, it's a parent, it's a spouse, who knows? But just that's a big heads up. And lastly here, I made a post on my Facebook page about this today. You guys might have seen it. A response I always get is when I say to someone, why are you binging? Why did you eat? If you're not hungry, why are you eating? Here's two responses. I either get, I don't know, which is not a legitimate response because I do know. I know why. It's because they're unfulfilled. Or they'll pass the blame to others. It's my room. That's what I got. I got from one girl said it's her roommate's fault because her roommate brings junk into the kitchen. So, guys, just be cognizant of this. Okay. Last one. Let's hit this and move on. And we got a treat coming up. The key to eating healthy isn't so much about controlling the food you eat as it is about controlling your emotions. And that ties into a couple others already. Okay. Now let me make a clear point. Your feelings are your emotions. Okay. Sad, happy, lonely, frustrated, anger, depressed. These are emotions that are going to affect you negatively when it comes to food. You can never eat, let me word this correctly. You can never, oh gosh, I had a great quote on my Facebook page. I'm trying to word it correctly. Let me move on and I might come back to it because I don't want you guys to miss it. I know what it was, but it doesn't tie into this. It was something else. We'll touch on it in a minute later, but let me keep rolling with this here so I don't lose my train of thought. And then lastly, and I've posted this before, and you guys have heard me say this. Either you will control food or it will control you. Now, we can take food out and plug in emotions. Either you will control your emotions or they will control you. Guys, you'll never control the food you eat unless you get a grip on your emotions. I can't help you with that. I'm not a psychologist. I'm not a therapist. I'm not any type of, I can't help you with that, but I can identify it. I can share with you that's a tremendous pitfall. Okay. So if you're a chronically frustrated, angry, depressed person, lonely, sad, you're going to be a victim to food, and it's going to be really hard to break out of it. So let me do this. I'm going to got my screen share down, and let me bring up my questions here because we've got some good questions coming up, and I got a treat coming up for you guys. Let me see if I can navigate through this here. Okay. Got it. Got some great comments. Now let me get all of our questions in here, and I'm going to bring my screen back up here in a second if we need to. So first things first. Do we have any extra questions tonight? Any questions? Let's see here. Valerie is asking. How many meals a day should I eat? Well, that's a little different here. Well, Valerie, what I would say for how many meals a day do you eat would probably be 5 to 6. You could get away with as few as 4, but I would say probably 5 to 6. Susie from Sacramento is asking, how many calories should I eat per meal? Well, that's a very broad question, little Susie. I don't count calories. I think counting calories is the first step to an eating disorder for a number of reasons, but that depends on your activity level and a number of variables. It depends on your somatotype, your height, your weight, your age, and your activity levels, and your body fat. Let's see here. Let me see. Is Andrea still on here? I wanted to Andrea. Okay. I want to bring somebody on video call. Who wants to come on video chat? Ingrid, you want to come on? May from Victoria, you want to come on? Sean, do you want to come on? Yaritza Zahas from Philadelphia. Here's the thing. Tell you what. I never showed you guys my transformation photos. When I played college football, I was 265 pounds, which isn't that huge. And then I got one when I was photo shoot 4% body fat condition. I'll put those photos up here on my slideshow if someone comes on. Is that fair? No takers? Well, let me ask you this. Does anybody want to see those? If anybody wants to see those, type in the chat bar right now. If I get 3 people, we'll hit it. Very good. Okay, well, we'll run with those. And we had a great webinar tonight, guys. I appreciate you coming on. And do me a favor. Would everybody go to my Facebook page, if you would, and type in and say you were here and say you enjoyed it. And be critical. Give me constructive criticism. If you didn't like it, let me know if you didn't like it. If you did like it, let me know that too. So I'm a fan of tough love. So tell me what you liked about it, what you didn't like about it, what you want to see next time. Either way. So thanks for tuning in, guys. And we had a very good webinar tonight. And hit my Facebook page. See you soon.
Screen sharing has stopped.